Welcome to this episode of the Bitter to Better podcast. I realize that I have not recorded a breakup episode in a while on the podcast. And the Bitter to Better podcast is a podcast for women around dating, breakup recovery, and stress and life management. So I like to add a little bit of all of that throughout the podcast. And if you listen to episodes from the past, you'll see I have a bit of all of that. So, this is a breakup recovery episode, and there will be more to come over the next month or so. So, this one is about dealing with post breakup impulses. The impulses to contact your ex or do something that is not beneficial to your healing process, and oftentimes not beneficial to your image either, but that's secondary. We're really trying to heal, cope, move through, move past the breakup. So, we want to be thinking about things that are helpful to that process. And I want to talk today about dealing with the impulses that happen when you want to say or do something that oftentimes you end up regretting. And even if you don't regret it, it's not beneficial to you moving forward and moving on. So this can come in the form of having an impulse to call or text your ex, to do some property destruction to their things, to post on social media, to talk badly about them or to try to interfere with any of their relationships, new romantic relationship, their friendships, mutual friends that you guys had, talk bad about them to their family, whatever, right? These are things that are naturally, understandably very human to have those moments of anger or sadness or despair or frustration around what happened, how it happened, whether in the relationship or during the breakup, and wanting to just do it. And oftentimes on impulse doing it. I would like to offer some thoughts on how to manage these moments so that you avoid them as much as possible and have as few of them as possible. Um, and also knowing that you may not completely avoid them. So the idea of kind of like when we're going through our healing journey of a breakup, there are so many opportunities for us to be triggered by things we see, hear, smell, a place we're driving, a thing somebody says, a question somebody asks us, seeing a certain person. We can go down and down the list. Seeing some item of your ex's, like in your home. I mean, there are a million things that can trigger us, right? And so, what I like to think about first, in order to help avoid or limit some of these impulses to, do something that isn't ideal, is to eliminate as many triggers from your life that you can that are reasonable. So things that are within your control and that are reasonable to do. For example, if getting to work, you have multiple options of a route that allows you to get there on time and not being too much traffic. Maybe you take one route over the other. If passing by that person's house, if you have to pass by the person's house or their job or a favorite place of theirs, if you take, one route rather than another. Um but obviously, if you can't avoid that, if there really is only one reasonable route, whether it's because of traffic or location or whatever, then that's what you have to do. So the thing about triggers are there are some that we can eliminate, there are others that we have to cope with. But I do think that it is beneficial for you to think about the ways that you are triggered, the times that you are triggered, to think about your ex or to get upset, and any of those that you can remove, you do. So, one primary one that I will never stop harping on and that I will always push to do is, if you do not have children, shared children with this person, or legal ties of some sort, a business, a house, or something like that with this person, then you cut off contact. You delete their number from your phone, even if you have the number memorized. You block them on your phone. You unfollow, unfriend them on all social media, and you block them on all social media. Now, if you have concerns about how it might look if you unfriend them or something like that, because there are different circumstances for everyone, then just block them without the unfriending. Um, but the truth of the matter is, you want to remove as many opportunities as possible for you to contact them or them to contact you. Because it's not just about what you might do in terms of whether you might reach out to them, but it's also the fact that they can pop up whenever. And I talk with people all the time where this is the case. Like they're doing good about no contact with the person for a couple of weeks, and that person comes in and says something or asks something. Now, of course, what I just said was if you don't have children together or you don't have legal ties. Obviously, this is not so simple if you have those things going, especially kids, right? If both parents are involved in the kid's life, then you need to be able to communicate as co-parents. So you can't just block them like on your phone. But I still recommend that you block them on social media. Like I would imagine that the way that you communicate that with them around the kids, or the ideal way to do that would be through phone, right? So you can still unfollow them and block them on social media. And another piece of this that I recommend is actually maybe you just make your communication about business. Like, let's say, so for instance, you own a house together and you need to sell that house. Communicate via email, strictly business about the house, and be blocked on everything else on the phone, on social media. Again, if you don't have kids. So, like, say you don't have kids together, but you're trying to sell a house or deal with business stuff, then block them on social media, block them and erase them out of your phone, and communicate via email, strictly business. I can't tell you how extremely helpful this step is and how very hard it is for many people to do. And we want to ask ourselves why that is. We may feel like, oh, obviously there's an emotional investment there. So it's like I don't want to like lose every opportunity to find that person or reach out to them. Um, there are people who are in a breakup in which they have real concerns about their ex's safety or health or things like that. But that I've talked about this in another episode. That's also something where you need to have other resources involved, their family, their friends, mental health providers, doctors, etc. It's not on you to hold that and carry that. You guys are not in a relationship anymore. And I don't mean that you are a heartless person who doesn't care, but I am saying you are a human who is trying to move on and forward with their life in a healthy way. So those boundaries are important. But anyway, back to ways that we reduce being triggered during a breakup: no contact or limited contact. Even if you have kids together, you don't need to be following each other on social media. That is what a phone is for. That is potentially what email is for. Okay. So that's the first thing. That is something you can control. But then there's just the reality that you've had this experience and that you have feelings. And so you're going to have moments. You're going to have memories, right? So you're going to have moments of thinking about things and getting really upset about it, really sad about it, or remembering a happy moment and wanting to reach out and be like, oh, remember this, remember when. And if you were on this journey forward and trying to move past it, I don't recommend you lean into those moments, because oftentimes you regret it, whether it's because that person just flat out ignores that attempt at connection, or whether it's because you guys end up getting into a heated argument and it's just raising everybody's blood pressure and anxiety levels. Um, whether it's because it opens up doors that don't need to be opened or reopens wounds for you that don't need to be reopened. I don't recommend that you lean into those moments. So, what do you do when you have those moments? When you have the thought, I really want to text them right now, whether it's I want to send them this memory that was a happy memory between us, a video, or whether it's that I want to cuss them out and tell them how much I hate them or how horrible they are. Um, whether it's and I want to be clear, even if it's you in a co-parenting situation wanting to tell them something about their behavior or something that you feel they didn't do right, there's still a way to do that that doesn't involve this impulsive rant and rage, which again, maybe that's another episode for me to talk about how to communicate with co-parenting situations. But um, instead, some things you can do. You have a thought in a moment, whatever, you have a memory, you drive past a place, a certain song comes on, and it brings up emotions, whether they're happy emotions or sad emotions. The emotion is a natural thing and it's not to be judged and it is totally valid, whatever it is. The behavior, the action that you do as a result of feeling that feeling is the important part. And what we are saying here is we are not going to text them, call them, go to their house, key their car, go on social media, post something that's unnecessary or embarrassing to you or problematic or any of those things. We're not going to go on social media and overshare. We're going to talk to our therapist about that or our good friend about that, right? But these are exactly the things I'm talking about. Maybe you need to go ahead and make an appointment with your therapist, or maybe you need to start seeing a therapist, right? Maybe you sign up today. Maybe you call or text your friend and talk about it. And sometimes, yeah, we can feel like we're exhausting the people in our lives with what's going on with us. And so we don't want to keep reaching out to them. Or maybe we don't feel like they give the most helpful support because a thing that is very common, the people who love us and care about us do not want to see us hurting. And so they oftentimes will be like, why are we still talking about this person? They're trash. And on paper, that person is trash, maybe. But the thing about it is that anyone who loves us is only seeing what's on paper about the person. They do not have the emotional investment that we have in the person. Sorry, that me. Yeah, exactly. Um, Forgive me as I put this on Do Not Disturb. That is my alarm to go pick up the kids very shortly. Um, so so it's easy for people who care about us to dismiss our feelings and our experience or dismiss, that person. Why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about this? But because they don't have the emotional investment. So sometimes when you have that impulse, it is to text a friend or call a friend and have them talk you off the ledge. Sometimes it is to make sure you're getting into that therapy session with your therapist. Sometimes it's to go take a walk and to put on headphones and listen to music, whatever version of music you need to listen to, whether it's something to help you cry, whether it's something to make you happy and energetic. Maybe it's listening to a podcast while you walk, listening to an audiobook while you walk, but having some form of distraction, but also body movement goes a long way in helping us to calm down and process thoughts. And to get tension out of our bodies. All of these things happening help reduce the impulsivity of the situation and help you take a step back. By the end of that 20-minute walk, do you still want to text that person? At the end of that phone call with a friend, do you still wanna text that person? Another thing that I love doing is either writing, but honestly, more so voice recording yourself, saying everything you wanna say to that person, but don't send it. Either immediately delete it, or a challenge that I just gave a client recently is if it's saved, make a, um you make a commitment that you do nothing with that piece of media for at least 24 hours. 24 hours later, you decide what you're gonna do with it. Do you still wanna send that? Are you sure that was a good idea to do that? What explosions might it cause? How might it make you look? Are you going through any court situations with this person? Don't give them fodder, like, for the court, stuff like that, right? So, write it down, speak it out loud, type an email that you never send, write a letter that you burn, whatever. Get it out but don't send it, right? So I just listed a few things. You can go for a walk and listen to music, call a friend, go to a therapy session, uh, speak it out loud, write it up. But there are a lot of different things you can do. Sometimes it's about distraction. So putting your head down into work or into studying or watching a good movie or a good show, cleaning your house, decluttering, organizing, engaging in some parenting tasks, tending to your kids. It can be a number of things. And I am considering doing an episode that's just about the different buckets, what I like to think of as like healing buckets. So, like, there's distraction, there's actual processing of emotions, there's these different things that we can be doing. But this is just kind of a quick note on acknowledging these impulses that happen because you are human. We've all been there. And most, if not many of us, have done the thing we shouldn't have done, which is reaching out or doing something or saying something we shouldn't. Some that's not helpful to us. When I say we shouldn't, I don't mean the person doesn't deserve it. I don't mean that you're not right in what you're saying, but does it help you ultimately move forward and heal? And so the first thing is to try to reduce being triggered by avoiding the triggers that you can reasonably avoid, and that no contact or limited contact is a big one. And then next, it's finding other things to engage in when those impulses do come up. How do I redirect this impulse? What is the best step for me right now? I encourage you to write down all the things you could possibly do in the moment of having an impulse and keeping it somewhere handy where you can access it and remind yourself of, okay, if I'm in the car, what can I do? I can take a drive that calms me. I can put on certain music, audiobook, podcast. I can call someone and talk while I'm driving. If I'm at home, what can I do? I can clean. I can put on music and dance. I can do an activity with the kids. Like, if the weather's nice, what can I do? I can get outside and take a walk. I can go engage in some sort of physical activity, exercise, a sport, something like that. or something that I can put my hands on. So doing some sort of crafting, pottery, painting, whatever, right? The idea though is that just because we have the impulse doesn't mean we should lean into it, even though those impulses feel so strong and so justified. And I really need to tell him how I feel and what I'm thinking. I can't believe he did this to me. I can't believe this happened. What were they thinking? Especially if on the other side you have an ex who is not very they're considerate or they're really not entertaining that, then I also want you to hold that feeling that you may have gotten when you've reached out before in the past and you didn't get the response you wanted. Whether it was an angry, mean response, whether it was complete dismissal and them ignoring you, whether it had them retaliate against you in some way. If you've done that, if you've reached out and you've gotten any of those type of responses, it feels horrible. And I want you to remember that feeling. Use it as motivation to avoid doing it again. Like, harness the feeling of that and be like, "Ooh, that made me feel so gross or so upset or so sad. I don't want that feeling again." And use that to also help you not reach out during those impulsive moments. I hope this has all been helpful. Um, we're all out here trying to do the best we can, and I know that the breakup healing journey can be a very tough one. So these are just some things to help you through moment by moment and day by day. Also, don't forget that I now have an email list that you can sign up for at coachtracy.life. That's CoachTracie.life. Also on YouTube, you can subscribe to the Coach Tracy YouTube channel and you can get this podcast. You may be watching this podcast right now on YouTube. And you can follow me on Instagram at the Coach Tracy. See you next time.